The next week, I'd get on a call, and the majority of those individuals didn't have time to do the task they needed to do to be successful. Since COVID, people understand that remote work is something that is I can't say it's a fad anymore, right? Because now it's something where a lot of people, especially younger generation, they want kind of a hybrid work from home. So now real estate professionals now see the virtual space as a normal thing now. And real estate is a long game. So if anyone's looking to get in this business and get rich quick, you're in the wrong business.
Hey guys, this is Sharad with REsimpli, host of the REsimpli Podcast, bringing you a super special guest, Bob Lachance, on this podcast. Bob, welcome to REsimpli Podcast. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Very good. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I know you're super busy, you have so much stuff going on. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where do you live and how are you related to this crazy world of real estate?
Yeah, I live in West Hartford, Connecticut. Started real estate back in, when was it? We're going way back now, 2004. Prior to that, I played professional hockey for 8 years. Yeah, 2 decades. So as you can tell, I shaved my beard a little bit today. So I usually have these 2 white spots over there in my gray beard, but I just turned 50 this year. So been around for a while, and I got a lot of bumps and bruises to show for it.
Yeah, cool, man. Like you have one of the largest, the VA agency for real estate investors. So we definitely want to get into that. So I want to speak a little bit about your 2 decades of real estate investing. By the way, congratulations turning 50, man. You look absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Thanks.
I want to look like you when I'm 50. Yeah. So how did you get started? Like, was it infomercial that got you in real estate? Was it your book you read, or you kind of, you were tired of your job, or you were actually a professional hockey player? So how did the transition happen?
Well, it started earlier than that. I went to school for 4 years, and right before getting my degree, I was offered a contract to play ice hockey. So I left 2 classes short of getting my degree, and with the thought and mindset that, hey, every summer I'm going to go back and finish my degree. And so you keep going each year in between contracts. I never went back. Before you know, it's 8 years has gone by, and I either had a decision, either go back to school or jump into an industry that did not need any type of licensing or degrees or anything. And I started reading a couple of books towards the end of my career, and everything pointed to real estate. Again, I didn't want to go back to school, so real estate was it.
Yeah. And then did you start with flipping or wholesaling?
Yep. Yeah. Actually, my first deal was a flip. So I bought this course. I think the gentleman's name was David Wisnett. He was an attorney investor, and taught me how to farm areas and network and build buyers lists. And so anyway, at that time I thought I was a rehabber. So drove around neighborhoods, made offers on properties. There's one property that was actually listed, and it's listed for 185 grand. I put an offer in 145. They accepted it. And I was like, what do I do now? Because I didn't have, you know what I mean? I didn't have money lined up. I didn't understand business. I didn't know anything. So no contractors, nothing. So anyway, I figured it out, grabbed the newspaper back in the day, and looked up contractors, and I called 3 of them. Only one of them showed up to meet me at the property that I just bought. And so I hired that guy, and I just started from there. And then this crazy world of real estate has taken me in all different directions, from commercial to buy and hold to wholesaling to flipping to you name it.
That's like 1 in 3 contractors showing. That's actually pretty good odds. I would take those. I mean, if I can get 1 out of 10 people to show up in contractors, that's a big win. So you're flipping houses, you're doing commercial, you're doing all sorts of different things. And I want to get into how did Riva Global come about? How did that transition happen? You're still doing real estate. But where did you see a need for Riva Global?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So like I said, I started in 2004. Right after I did my first flip, I jumped into short sales with the idea of getting more rehab projects. But once I started doing short sales, we started getting inundated. We were flipping them at that time, so it was real different. We used to use land trust, put the property into a land trust, and sell the beneficial interest of that land trust, and the end buyer's funding would fund us out. So and then in 07 or 08, 09, That stopped. We couldn't do that any longer. However, let me take a step back. While I was in the short sale world, I also helped run a real estate education company in the back end of the coaching side. This is back in probably 06 at the time. And then in 07, we got approached by good buddies of ours from Fortune Builders, and they said, "Hey guys, we don't know anything about the coaching space." My buddy or my partner at the time was Pat Precourt. So we jumped in the real estate education space while investing, because we were all friends in Connecticut before they moved out to San Diego. This is again back in 2007. So before you know it, the company started picking up some steam. And my job was to help build the coaching program behind it, hire coaches, train them, manage them, etc., and run coaching calls and run webinars, things like that. And this is 07, 08, 09, even when the crash hit. But all throughout the years, always looking for if there's a service or a product out there to help the students actually follow through with the homework assignments or action items I would give them. So picture this, this in the coaching space, I'd get on a coaching call. Let's say I've had 5 coaching calls in one day, and they're 30 minutes in length, and I'd be walking through what an investor needs to do to be successful. We had homework assignments. I found a common theme of the week or the next week, I'd get on a call, and majority of those individuals didn't have time to do the task that they needed to do to be successful. There's a lot of them working part-time, full-time, etc. And from 2007 to 2013, I was looking for that product or service. And then 2013, I got introduced to what a virtual assistant was. So I'm like, this could be something. So I hired my own. I like testing things before I actually implement them or tell someone that it's the best product, because that in the referral side, you want to make sure
for 100%.
Yep. So light bulb went on anyway, 2013, when I hired one. I'm like, you know what? This could be a business. This could be exactly what we're looking for. So 2014, I partnered up with a guy, and then we just launched it. We had a 2-year test, and then lo and behold, we were at a couple hundred users, and the industry was saying, yes, it is a needed service out there. So it's a pretty cool start, 2014, and then fast forward, it's grown from there.
How many VAs do you have now?
So as of right now, we have over 1,000 VAs right now. Wow. But the companies are getting separated, so it's going pretty good. It's going pretty good.
And it's not just real estate, right? You guys do medical billing also, correct?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. But is it primarily real estate? I mean, the name Reva Global.
It's 50-50 now.
50-50, but they're all under Reva Global.
Correct.
Yeah. And everything in Philippines, or you have some in
everything's in the Philippines. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's amazing, man. So you noticed this. So were you always looking for an opportunity for yourself to start a service company, or you were just looking for a service provider that you can plug into that can help the students do the homework that they were given?
Yeah, I wasn't looking to start a new company, because I was also flipping properties and running this coaching program with obviously our partners. I was not looking for another company to start. It just happened. Right. Light bulb went on. I'm like, you know what? This could be. There's nothing out there. It was very prevalent more in the real estate agent space, but not in our space with the real estate investor space. So I'm like, you know what? Might as well, marry the two together. I helped start this education training company. You might as well, put the virtual assistant world together and start training virtual assistants. And then that's how kind of it got started.
What is it that you notice investors that are successful using VAs versus the ones that are not? Like what difference do you notice between those two groups of investors?
They treat them like they're part of their team. I think it's very, very important, because, at the beginning, a lot of people are like, oh, virtual assistants, they're just cheap. They're, you could throw them away. They're not human. Well, this was before COVID. And then now it's actually gotten a lot easier, because since COVID, people understand that remote work is something that is I can't say it's a fad anymore, right? Because now it's something where a lot of people, especially younger generation, they want kind of a hybrid work from home / in office. So now we have investors, agents, brokers, etc. Real estate professionals now see the virtual space as a normal thing now.
Yeah. I mean, I think people don't realize like VA is a virtual assistant just because they're in Philippines or US. I mean, people have that. It's funny. Sometimes I'll talk to investors and I'll say, hey, are you looking for a VA? And like, yes. And I'll say, okay, what about, have you thought about hiring someone in US? They're like, no, I'm looking for a VA. So a VA could be in US. It's someone who's
Right.
virtually helping you. It just people have this idea that, that a VA means inexpensive help that they're getting.
Correct.
And it's so true. They don't value it enough. Like I have a VA in Philippines and he's absolutely incredible. Like he basically runs my business and I give him pretty good incentive for someone in Philippines. And it's amazing how much initiative they will take. At least I've noticed like people in Philippines, they are really good, amazing work ethics that they have. And you give them the right incentive, you put them in the right structure, and they absolutely will stay with you forever. Is that something you've noticed on your own side?
Yeah, the culture there is incredible. Very family oriented, very
Yep.
service oriented.
Yep.
So they look at your business like their business, just like you said. They take a lot of pride into making sure that everyone's successful together. So you give right incentive programs, you treat them like part of your family, which is your company family, and you will get the best out of Philippine virtual assistants.
Right. And then the investors that are starting out, like, what do you think? What's the first thing that they need help with?
Hmm.
Like
I
someone
would
who's
say.
just kind of starting out on their own, like doing a deal here and there, and they want to start out with hiring a VA.
I would say lead generation, because you start looking. Even you and I have known each other for a long time, and I've always looked at your platform and all the stuff that you continue to add. This is what helps separate you from everyone else, in my opinion. Now, you start looking at a virtual assistant. If you start using them in lead generation, because you and I talked about this before, you're going to have a tough time in any business if you don't have leads.
Yeah. It is
So
a
that's
marketing
what.
business when you think about real
Yep.
estate. It is a marketing business. You stop doing marketing, you are out of business.
Yep. So I would start marketing and branding up front because, there's things that we do. We do this podcast. Guess where this podcast goes? It's sent to my virtual assistants and they chop it up and they send it on all of, Instagram, Facebook, etc. They put it all over the place. And I don't do any of it, but that's part of the branding side. And then on the marketing side, we have virtual assistants that go direct to seller. We either do, cold calling, text messaging, handle direct mail, pulling lists for us, getting them skip traced. So they do all of those things up front to where the only thing I want in our team so we have an office in Cheshire, Connecticut. All the leads get driven into that office. And as soon, just like for instance, they'll use, your software and all of a sudden it'll go in, it'll ding, and then our acquisition individual will be calling, right? They'll be
Right.
calling, following up right after that warm lead came into the system.
And do you think, like, when someone is looking for a VA, is it fair to expect a VA to do lead gen, lead management, disposition, and then admin work? Is that fair to expect that from a VA?
They can, but you have to separate it. Not everyone's good at everything. It's kind of like if you hire an acquisition person, but they're not good at dispo here, right?
Right.
Or they can't do TC or they can't do admin. Everyone's got different makeups, so keep that in mind. I would put them in a seat to just like here. If you're hiring an
Yeah.
American, for me, this is what I found in our office. We continue to hire every single day in-house. So we've found that not necessarily is a great acquisition individual a great dispo person. So it's the same with virtual assistants.
Right. When you see someone hiring a VA directly, like what are some of the mistakes they make in hiring? Is that they don't look for the right skill set, they just go based on the price, or you would just because they think it's someone that I'm paying less than $10 an hour, they don't take it as seriously.
Yeah, a lot of times they do just look at price and they hire in price. I always use this example. The first door I got in one of my houses, my first like house in West Hartford, I did a rehab and I put a cheap door in the back. And in Connecticut, it gets really cold. And my oil
Yeah.
bill that winter went through the roof. And I'm like, hey, I only spent $99 on that door. After that winter, I'm like, I'm never going to shop for price like that because you got to go for quality as well. It's those two things. I'm also, in the state of Connecticut, minimum wage went up to $15 and I think it's 69 cents right now. Now, I don't know about you, but if, many of these states, if you're hiring someone for minimum wage, you're not going to get someone who's college educated. They haven't gone to school for 4 years. You're just not going to get the quality that you need to
Right.
run whatever task you need to do. And all of our virtual assistants have 4-year college degrees.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I live in California. It's like cost of living is so high. So imagine if you're
Yep.
hiring someone for 15, 20, even $25 an hour,
Mm-hmm.
like, what kind of candidate you're going to get, no knock on the candidate, but if they have all these expenses that they need to
Yep.
pay for, 20, 15, $20 an hour doesn't go very far.
They
And then
can't
you
live
can
off that.
get,
Yeah.
yeah, they can. And you can hire someone overseas, for like fraction of that
Mm-hmm.
cost, and they have like 4 years of education. Like you
Yep.
can really have some absolutely amazing people. Like, at REsimpli, we built like a multi-million-dollar company, and then it's just me and two other people in US, our
Yep.
affiliate manager and my assistant. My assistant isn't even full-time, and everyone else is overseas. And
Yep.
just we've been able to really leverage working virtually, having a remote culture, and then just be able to like work off of that. I want to ask you one thing. This is something I'm still struggling with, and I haven't figured out a way to like come up with a solution for this. How do you build a culture across, a team culture across, people speaking different languages, different cultures? Like, how do you do that? Is that something that's possible? And then the teams that investors that you are supporting through Revive Global, and then the ones that are really successful, like what is it that they're doing that helps them build a really good company culture?
Yeah, one thing I've noticed is, especially business wise, right? If you include them and you have, it's almost going, looking back and saying, all right, we all, no matter what we do in our businesses, we need to make sure that there's structure in place, because
Right.
people do not work well when there's not structure. So for us, for me, I have everything done in the morning. So I have my virtual assistant business is done in the morning. I have all my meetings because they're in the Philippines, but they work Eastern Standard Time or whatever, obviously whatever time zone you're in. We have PST, a lot of PST clients as well. But for me personally, I'm in East Coast. So I have everything from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., all my virtual assistant meetings. So every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I keep Friday off. So for
Right.
me, I keep that rhythm going. And so the way we have everything structured, we have what we call a client service manager that oversees about 25 to 30 client pairs.
Okay.
And they have all of their check-ins. They have all their, start of day reports, end of day reports, daily check-ins as well. So everything is very, very structured. For that's just for Riva Global, but I have about around 20 virtual assistants doing various stuff for my real estate company. And what we do is we have same thing. We have the same structured calls. We have same structured meetings. We got start of day reports, end of day reports, but everything is very, very structured, and we make them feel like they're part of the family as well, which is really, really important.
How do you celebrate like wins with them? For example, if you have someone in US, you could get together with them. You could do some of
Mhm.
those like in-person things. How do you get like do you do some company events that are virtual and
Yeah.
involve your virtual team also in that?
Yeah, we do that. We do company virtual events. Like, we do a cool thing at Halloween. I don't know if you know this, but I fly in there about 3 times a year. So we do meet with our support staff 2 to 3 times a year. And then we have a big event at the end of the year with, almost 1,000 of our VAs that come in, and support members that also come in for one big party just to give back and to obviously celebrate everything. We have awards and things like that as well.
So when you fly to Philippines, you have everyone from your team, all like 1,000 VAs come in,
We
or
we invite them for, yeah, that's one time a year. But
oh
the
wow.
other, yeah, the other 2 other times we have support events, trainings and support events and team building, etc.
And you do that in Manila, have everyone fly in Manila, or you
Yep.
go to some other island?
Yeah, mainly we go there. Sometimes we go to some islands, but mainly it's concentrated in that area because there's a lot
Yeah.
of VAs that are in that area.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, I
Yep.
flew out to Philippines for the first time in February. We have like about a dozen people there, and we went to Boracay.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Like once you meet
Yep.
them in person, And it's really, I mean, it's like meeting them in person, like just like my regular team. They just happen to
Mhm.
be in Philippines, but they're just like my regular team members that I have. Like I have, for my other businesses, employees in the US. It's just like if you treat them the same way, it's amazing how much value, how much output you can get from people anywhere in the world, especially with like in the day and age that we're living in COVID.
Uh,
It's like you want that remote team culture, and then you want people to feel like they can work from anywhere. Like we just tell our team, you can work from anywhere as long as you produce. That's the only
right.
requirement. It doesn't matter, as long as you have internet connection, you can work from anywhere, but you just have to produce.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's always good, like you said. I'm glad you actually went there because Boracay is actually a really nice place. We were there last year as well.
Yeah.
But getting together and showing, face-to-face human contact, I think is really, really important. It's no different if you're working in the Philippines or you're working,
Yeah.
if I have partners that are in California near you, right? Even though we're
Yeah.
6, 7 hours away flight. It's the same exact thing. And you and I would probably have, if we were partners, we would have some, get-togethers during the year.
Yes. How, at what point would you say if like how many VAs would someone need to have before they're like, okay, I should go invest in traveling to Philippines, meeting them? Like, is there a certain number of VAs? Do you say like once they get to that number,
I would say 10 plus.
10 plus? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And with the VAs that you guys are working, like when you hire them, what sort of like how do you make sure you find the best people? Do you like what are some best practices? Are you having them take some, disk analysis or predictive index? Like what do
We do
you
both.
you
We
do
actually
both?
do both. Yeah, and we have a whole, I mean, we have a whole sourcing and recruiting team over there. We're going through probably, I don't know, well over 1,000 applications per month.
Mm,
That's one of the reasons why I started the company too, is my pain, along with obviously it was a need. But when I tried to hire my first virtual assistant, it went to one of those sites like Upwork or whatever. I
yeah.
can't remember. Was it called Upwork back in the day? I don't
No,
even know. They
like
changed.
freelance or something. I
Yeah,
forgot.
something
Yeah,
like
it
that.
wasn't Upwork. Yeah.
Yeah. But I went through over 100 applications, literally going
Right.
through them, and probably 20 plus hours of going through this and interviewing. And I had my first VA for, a couple weeks, and then all of a sudden I couldn't find him anymore. So I
Yeah.
had to go through the same process. I'm like, there's got to be a better, the better way out there. So
Right.
that's one of the reasons why I created we have our sourcing and recruiting team. Then it goes to our training team, placements team. And that's why we have it all built out with our operations and HR and things like that.
Did you say you guys are interviewing like 1,000 candidates a month?
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Let me rephrase this. 1,000 resumes to get
1,000 resumes, yeah.
Yeah.
To
Yep.
get to, yeah, that's insane. Yeah, one thing that I've noticed in our business is, initially when we used to hire someone, it was always about the price, like pay them the
Mhm.
minimum that was, I mean, Upwork had to actually increase the limit to $3.33, like, a couple of years ago. And then that's what like we would hire at. But now we start saying, okay, let's just pay a little bit more. And it's incredible how long you can get somebody to stay with you and how much they appreciate being part of that team. And then one thing I've noticed in my experiences, like at least the team in Philippines, or at least the team that we have, they're so driven by incentives. And it's just, if you can align those incentives, their incentives with the company incentives, it's amazing how
Yeah.
much like motivation, how much like really amazing work that you can get with them. Have you noticed something like, is that something you guys have also noticed working with VAs in Philippines? And then do you provide incentives or do you leave that up to the client to like provide those incentives? And is there any limit on
Yep.
that?
See, when I look at incentives, I look at so when you have a one-on-one VA with our company, you figure out your incentive bonuses with them. When I have virtual assistants in my own real estate company, so we did last 3 years, we did over, I think it's about 300 deals, right? This year, I think we're on mark to do over 180, 85, depending on, how much gets closed by the end of the year. But with our virtual assistants, we have incentives for each one. So if they're, text message team, cold call team, direct mail, etc. So we have different incentives for each one of them as well. So once a deal closes, they get incentives. So like you said, which keeps them very, very motivated and
Yeah.
task driven and focused.
Yeah. And then you have like, you're working with, work with like thousands of investors all over the
Mhm.
country. And you get to like get really good insight into what different investors are doing. What do you see that's working for investors right now? Like given, we're like August 2024,
Yeah.
texting is getting a little bit harder. Cold calling is not as, effective,
Mhm.
as it used to be. Like, what's working for the investors that you guys are working with?
Yep. It's really a mix of all of them together, to be 100%
Yeah.
transparent. So, you know, this going back and being in this business for a long time, it's the consistency that actually creates success in
Right.
this business. So we continue to do each one of them, right? So you got direct mail, you have, you have online lead generation, direct mail, cold calling, text messaging. We do a little PPC, a little PPL. So we try everything. We're going to get to TV after the election as well, which is more, obviously more expensive. But from what I've heard, I did TV back in 2000. I think it was 2006 back in the day.
Right.
I did it back then. I have not done it since. But we have obviously a lot of investor buddies that swear by it and say it does very, very well. So we're going to do that as a second test. But
Yeah.
the point of the matter, it's consistency. So we focus mainly on cold call, text, direct mail, and some online lead generation right now.
Yeah, though I've heard from some other investors that with TV ads, it's hard to attribute the leads to TV because sometimes what happens is you do TV ads and people actually go to your website, fill out the
Mhm.
forms. So all of a sudden, as you start doing TV ads, you notice a spike in your website activity.
Right.
But it's hard to like attribute that money came from TV, but you can clearly see as you start doing TV or radio, then your lead volume starts going up from website. And it's interesting that you mentioned that with the election year. I've heard from other investors kind of taking a pause from TV, radio, given that
Mhm.
it's election year. And some people are also kind of cutting back on Facebook ads and stuff just because it being
Yep.
election year. So it's interesting that you've noticed that also on your side. Um, where do you see the market going from here? Like, next, given this election year, next, and the interest rates are starting to come down a little bit. What do
Yep.
you see, happening in next like 12 to 18 months from here?
I mean, I still think it's going to be a very good market. We have a lack of inventory out there.
Right.
There's more buyers and sellers out there, which obviously keeps the prices where they're at. I don't see us going into, things going back the way they used to back in
Yeah.
08, 09, 10. I honestly, between me and you and everyone on this call, I would love for them to go back down to those prices because
That was crazy.
I'm in a position to gobble up a lot of them, but
Yeah.
unfortunately they won't. So we just gotta, we gotta go to, but to answer your question, I don't think it's not gonna crash.
Yeah. And I think it's also what we notice with our investors, the ones that are the most successful are the ones that are most consistent. When people come to us and say, what
Mhm.
marketing channel should I start with? Our answer is always the one that you can stick with the longest. At the end of the day,
Mhm.
every marketing channel works, but it's just the one that you can stick with the longest is the one that's going to give you the best ROI, whether it's cold calling, texting, direct mail, PPC, PPL, whatever it might be. We notice people get leads from all sorts of crazy things. It's
Yep.
because they stick with it long enough to let that marketing channel work. It's the investors that I'm sure you get these kind of investors all the time that hire, you know, a VA from Riva Global and they use them for a month to do cold calling. They don't get any deal closed. They're like, oh, this thing doesn't work. And then I'm going to do something
Mhm.
else. I'm going to do it on my own. And then they do direct mail, one mail drop, then nothing comes. And they're like, okay, direct mail doesn't work. Then they do texting, they do
Correct.
PPC, and they just keep jumping from one marketing channel to the next, but actually nothing ever, comes through because they're not sticking with it consistent enough. So
Yep.
100% agree with you on the consistency part of it in the
It-
marketing.
let me add to that too, because I think that's a really important part. And I was actually laughing. I was chuckling with someone the other day, and I said, you know what? If everyone looks at their business and they actually invest in the sales process and how to close a deal, all of those leads that you just said would be able to turn into a contract because
Mm.
our sales skills will be better. You look at if two individuals, one individual that has sales training and consistently gets trained on sales, right? There's a lot of great sales trainers out there. And then another individual that does not do that, I will promise you, we will send each of them the same lead, but the one that has sales training, I will promise you will close, 9 times out of 10 compared to
Yeah.
1 out of 10. So I think that's a very missing link in our industry. It's that a lot of times I hear people say, oh, the leads aren't good. The leads aren't good. And then
Yeah.
I ask, what have you done for sales training? And they look at me with a blank stare. And I'm like, well, that's why. If I
Yeah.
didn't, if we didn't train our individuals in our own office on how to close those leads, all of the leads sent to my office would be coined bad leads,
Yeah.
but they're very good at closing, and we invest on training, sales
Yeah.
training.
I think investors have this certain idea that if I'm spending money on leads and I'm getting these leads, then they're going to convert automatically. I just have to
Correct.
make an offer and they're just going to convert. They don't understand the concept of follow-up, like
Mm-hmm.
using, showing empathy, using the right scale sales script, the script to talk to people, asking the right question, and making sure if they give an answer, rather than just going through a list of questions you want to ask. If someone just says, oh, I don't want to sell right now because my dog just died, or I had this, tragedy in family, and you just like completely gloss over that, and then you go and ask the next question, okay, when can I come look at the property? Like, why would anybody want to sell you when you just didn't even take a moment and say, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, anything I can help you with? It's just such a simple thing. And then I tell people all the time, like, the best thing you can do is go back and listen to your sales call that you did. In the moment, you may not realize it, but when you go back and listen to it, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I just completely missed this super important part of the information, where the seller gave me this information, about a bankruptcy, divorce, whatever it might be. And you just like completely didn't even pay attention to that.
Mm-hmm.
You're so right. I mean, people just don't invest enough in the business when it comes to sales training, have this expectation that, oh, if I'm spending $1,000 in marketing, I should be making, $5,000. I should have my
Yeah.
first contract in 1 month or 2 months, but it never happens like that. So people that are consistent day in, day out are the ones that are actually crushing it.
Yep. And you said something important, and this is something that I want to make sure we don't gloss over. We all have X amount of leads in our system. That's why you have a CRM like REsimpli, right? You need to keep and house those leads somewhere to where you could do SMS follow-up, you could
Yeah.
do calling follow-up, you could pick up the phone, you have a built-in dialer. The point is that we close majority of our deals. Just, and this is another kind of red flag. You got to be careful if you hire someone and they're just cherry picking and only going
Yeah.
after the new deals. If you don't go after the deals or the leads and follow up, you will be missing out on probably 70, 80, 90%
Oh,
of your
easily.
revenue. Right.
Easily. Yeah. I
So,
just literally, we're just closing on the sell side of a deal today that was in our acquisition
hmm.
follow for 400 days. And I kid you not, I'm going to make about 75 to 80,000
Yeah.
net to me on that deal, just
Yep.
from follow up. When you do anything fancy, there was like no magic word, no magic question we asked them. We just stayed consistent. Every month, every other
Mhm.
month, we'd follow up. Hey, we're still looking to buy. If anything changes, let us know. We would use different variations of this, but it was essentially the same thing we were saying. Hey,
Yep.
are you still looking to buy? Has anything changed? And we would change our questions and call based on the previous information they had given us. But it's honestly that simple as that, like consistently following up, doing marketing, having the same, consistent sales training that you're following. It's amazing how much difference it can make in your business. So
Yeah.
100% agree with you on that, man.
And nobody knows what's going on in someone else's life.
Yeah,
Nobody knows when stuff
absolutely.
changes.
Yeah,
Someone could be getting a little older. Someone, something could have happened
yeah,
at work. Someone could have, moved out of state, etc. I mean, I live in Connecticut, and there's a lot of people that want to get out of Connecticut when the winter comes.
yeah,
So we get a lot of individuals saying like, "Oh, I want to go down to Florida." Like,
yeah,
yep, okay. And there's a
yeah,
whole thing about that. So we don't know. None of us know what's going to happen if someone gets injured. Someone, whatever happens in their life. So that's the
yeah,
importance of why, because they raised their hand one day, one time,
yeah,
whether it's 400 days ago or within 400 days, they raised their hand for a reason. So
yeah.
everything after that, we don't know.
Absolutely. Is there anything that an investor, some part of their business, an investor should not rely on a VA for? Any aspect of the business, whether it's marketing, acquisitions,
Yeah,
disposition, operations, whatever it might be.
I would say I would not rely on them to be the closer in your business. I know I hear a lot of other people. I've tried every position with VAs. Like I've tried everything. But if I am going to rely on someone else to feed my family, I want to make sure that I really control that process. So closing the actual deal, I think, is our responsibility. And again, this is just my opinion. So you could have them send over a X amount of leads, warm them up, motivated sellers. That's what you want. Set to your closers that are closed assassins, right? That are closers on the phone. That's what I've realized. I know there may be some other, people that are argue with me, but majority of it, that's what I would say should be done by either you or someone in-house that's an acquisition specialist.
Yeah, that's what I did the training on, like a lead manager. If you have a lead manager, virtual or in-house, their role is to warm up the lead and set up an set up an appointment for the acquisition person to go and close. That's where their role ends. And it definitely makes a difference if you have the final closer based in US, or it's someone like you yourself. If you're a solopreneur, that you do it, don't leave that on to the VA. So yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. Like the final closing part of it, it's something that you should take very, very like seriously before you hand it off to someone. So yeah, great answer on that.
Yeah.
Bob, absolutely incredible. Final couple of questions for you. I want to respect your time. What is it that you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? Well, I bring my kids to hockey. All three of my kids play ice hockey. So
how old are they?
I have a 20-year-old, a 16, and a 15.
Nice. They want to be professional like their dad?
They do. My
They do?
my middle daughter is actually, she plays hockey at prep school right now. So
Nice.
yeah. So all of them. I got a son, daughter, and son.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. Is there one book? It could be a recent book, or it could be like all-time favorite that's had the most influence on your life, business or personal?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, majority of people that are on this actually listen to this podcast, probably Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but I'll give you a different one. One of the ones for me has been Compound Effect by Darren Hardy.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a thin book too, so it's a
It
very
is.
good read. Yeah. And it's all about how everything compounds on itself. And you look at real estate, and real estate is a long game. So if anyone's looking to get in this business and get rich quick, you're in the wrong business. You maybe see stuff on Instagram or whatever you guys see, but this is a long game business. And this is why there's many, many wealthy people that are in real estate, but it's not an overnight success. It takes a while, and it's okay, because before you know it, you'll be 50 like me. So
No, man. Yeah, I agree. It's a definitely a long-term game. And you know what's funny with your answer? So the second person who's given that answer, and Greg Helbeck was on the podcast last week. He gave the answer, and he also used to play hockey. So maybe it's
he's a
hockey,
buddy of mine too. I know Greg.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Final question. If you could spend a day with anyone, dead or alive, who would you want to spend the day with, and why?
Very interesting. I just read the book by Steven Schwarzman, the one who owns Blackstone. So I'd probably say him. Just, there's a lot of takeaways in his book that I just read about how he actually works with other individuals.
What was your biggest takeaway on that?
Biggest takeaway is he cannot work by himself and only himself. Very, very smart individual, but he had a partner. And a lot of the companies that he works with, that he owns like 51% of it. And I could be off by the percentage, but he owns a majority of them. But he invests basically in the operator, right? So it's a lot of syndication. So this is another takeaway of syndication. So that's my answer on that one. But I just want to go one step further, because I know a lot of individuals invest in multifamily syndications. Do your due diligence on the operator. So it's kind of the same concept, right? If you have a very good operator with, a great track record, that should give you more confidence to invest in that syndication. So it's kind of the same thing. Like Steven Schwarzman, he invests in that person who is going to be his partner that runs, really, takes the reign in the business, but he'll guide him. So that was my biggest takeaway on that side of it. So especially in our business,
for sure.
Service business.
Yeah, you can have an individual who can turn around the business, but you cannot have a business who can turn around the individual.
Correct.
So yeah, that's great input. Hi, Bob. If someone wants to connect with you, learn more about you or Riva Global, what's the best way for them to do that?
You check out our website, revaglobal.com. You could also jump on a strategy session with our team. You could always email me direct, bob@revaglobal.com, REVA global.com. And we're on all the, just like you, we're on all the social media sites as well.
Yeah, we'll put links to all of that in the show notes.
Cool.
Bob, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I truly appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks.